So this will be the week 12 of our discussion. So by the way, again, this is Julius Don Estanislao, your OLC for this subject. And our subject will be the fundamentals of accountancy, business, and management too. So the topic that we will be discussing today is about accounting books, which is the journal or journalizing. So I believe this would be the most exciting part of this subject kasi magjo-journalize na tayo. So we will be recording now. So anyway, let's move on. So this will be the things that we need to meet at the end of the lesson. Actually, we will not going to be able to meet them for this week yet. So we will be able to meet all of these objectives for I mean by next week. Um, because the topic that we'll be only discussing today is about journalizing, and then the ledger will be discussed by next week. So as you can see on these specific objectives or mga objectives natin is that at the end of the lesson, we will be able to differentiate the journal from the ledger. So basically, since next week pa natin i-discuss the ledger, we will be able to meet these objectives by next week. And then we will be able to determine the normal balances of the account. We will be able to prepare journal entries to record basic business transaction, and we'll be able to determine balances of an account using the accounts. Now, going back to the accounting cycle, so this will be the accounting cycle that we have. The first one is the identifying transaction, and then the second step will be the journalizing or record to the journal entries. So this will be the topic that we will be focusing on today. Okay, and then next week will be the posting to the ledger. So now let's have this journalizing first. So of course, what is journalizing? So as after analyzing the business transaction, so after daw natin i-analyze ang business transaction natin, it is now time to record or journalize them. So we will need to record them on our journal. So journalizing is the second step in the accounting cycle. It is called journalizing because we use a book called journal in recording the transaction. So later on, I will show you how journal looks like. So we also called journal as the book of original entry. Bakit kaya book of original entry? Kasi dito lahat nag-i-start. Dito lahat dito unang nire-record lahat ng mga transaction natin sa journal natin. That's why it is called Book of Original Entry. So the journal is a chronological records or day-by-day records of business transactions. It is called the Book of Original Entry because it is the accounting record in which financial transactions are first recorded. So basically, dito lahat nagsisimula ang recordings natin through the journal. So kung may pagkakamali tayo, we can go back to our journal to check kung sa book of original entry nga ba ang na-omit nating pagkakamali. So a journal is the book of original entry. A small business entity makes use of the simplest form of journal, which is the general journal in recording their transactions. It contains the following columns. So ito daw yung substance niya. So we have the date of transaction, account titles and explanations, or what we call particulars as well, folio or the reference number, debit for the amount to be debited, and credit for the amounts to be credited. So ganito siya. This will be the sample. So meron tayong, this is the general journal. So meron siyang date, the explanation of the particulars, folio, debit, and then credit side. Now, as a whole, ganito ang itsura ng journal natin. So, normally kasi kapag face-to-face, nabibili naman natin yung mga general journal na to sa mga bookstores. So, ayun, makikita natin meron din siyang date, particulars, folio, debit, and credit side. So, ganito siya. Now, how to journalize transactions ba? So, the date of the transaction is written on the date column. containing the year, the month, and the day of each transaction. The dates are written in systematic manner and in chronological order. So later, once we journalize, I will show you how to do this one, the date of the transaction. And then the account to be debited is written first, the left margin of the account, titles and explanation column. The account to be credited is written indented below the debit account, I mean. A short explanation is written indented next below to the credit column, credit account column. So I will show you later once we've reached the exercise kung paano sila ginagawa. And then the folio or reference number column is written to indicate the page number of the ledger in which the entry is transferred. So basically, si folio, ginagamit natin siya once we have transferred the information, and then the amount to be debited is written at the debit column opposite to the debit account, and then the credit, of course, should be written to the credit column. So we will see those later on. And then we also have the compound journal entry. So an entry that involves two accounts only, one debit and one credit, is called a simple journal entry. And then some transactions, however, required more than two accounts in journalizing. An entry that requires three or more accounts is a compound entry. Let's say, for example, a compound entry is magde-debit tayo ng isa, dalawang credit, or dalawang debit, isang credit. So as long as may dalawang debit, isang credit, or dalawang credit, isang debit, that's what we call compound journal entry. Or pwede naman siyang dalawang debit or dalawang credit. So as long as may dalawa sa debit or may dalawa sa credit, it is called compound journal entry. So now, let's have this exercise. Paano nga ba ang journalizing natin? So assuming that this will be the information for February's business or February's transaction of the business, and then ito yung mga January. So as you can see, this is the beginning balances of the account that came from January's financial statement natin or January's transactions natin. So these are called the beginning balances of the permanent accounts that came from the previous period. So ito yung mga transactions natin na kailangan daw natin i-journalize for the month of February. So how to journalize ba? So this will be the transactions natin, guys. Kanina, ito, hindi pa natin sila, yung mga beginning balances is not yet recorded kasi ma-record pa lang naman ng mga beginning balances sa ledger na yan. So pakikialaman muna natin yung mga transactions natin. So ito daw yung mga transaction na nag-occur noong February 2016. So we will need to have them journalized. So paano nga ba? So let's have our first transactions here. Our first transaction. So February 2, rendered service to X company for 15,000 and received cash payment on the same date. So sabi niya daw, nag-render daw tayo ng service kay X company at binayaran niya daw tayo kaagad ng 15,000 in cash. So kapag nag-journalize tayo, dapat lagi tayong merong debit at merong credit. Dapat balance lagi ang debit natin sa credit. So paano nga ba gamitin si journal? Kunwari ito yung journal natin. So dapat meron tayong year, then meron tayong date, month, and then yung date natin. So yung months natin, hindi naman natin siya laging sinusulat. So ang months natin, kung hindi tayo mag-next page, hindi natin siya isusulat ulit. Pero kapag nasa isang page pa tayo, months lang and then the date. And then the following transactions will be the date only. Hindi na isusulat si month. So now, year, month, and then the date. And then let's have the transaction again. So sabi niya, rendered service to X company for 15,000 and received cash payment. So nag-render daw tayo ng service, binayaran daw tayo kaagad through cash. So ano kaya ang ide-debit natin? So siyempre naka-receive tayo ng cash. Ano ang ide-debit natin? Service revenue ba ang ide-debit natin? Alright, so the debit natin is cash, of course. So kasi naka-receive daw tayo ng cash. So cash dapat ang i-debit natin. And then what is the credit? So 15,000 daw na-receive natin. Credit will be, nag-render tayo ng service. So service, nag-render tayo. Ang i-credit natin will be service revenue. 15,000. So sabi kanina, di ba, yung debit, ay yung credit natin dapat naka-indent siya sa debit natin. So ganyan dapat siya lumilitaw kapag gino-journalize natin sila. So yung credit should always be indented sa debit natin. And then, dapat meron daw siyang short explanation. Ano kayang explanation na lagay natin? Rendered service to X company. Alright, so this is how you record the first transaction. So cash and then service revenue. What if lang? Sabi niya dito, rendered service to X company for 15,000 on account. Hindi daw kaagad nagbayad si customer natin. Ano kaya ang i-debit natin kung hindi naman agad nagbayad si customer? Siyempre, we need to understand each and every transaction. Kung cash payment ba siya or on-account payment bang ginamit niya. Let's say, for example, in on-account ni customer yung ano natin, ano kaya i-debit natin? Siyempre, hindi cash. Ano kaya? Madadagdag yung mga pautang natin. Pag may mga pautang natin, these are called collections. So, what will be our debit then? Ano kaya ang debit natin? If ever na on account daw yung ano natin. Alright, so yes, it's receivables or the accounts receivables tayo. So kapag si customer hindi agad nagbayad sa ating service na renender sa kanila, i-record natin siya as accounts receivable. So ang entry natin nun is accounts receivable debit and credit service revenue. So tinitingnan nyo lang sa mga transaction if cash bang ginamit or on account. Pero meron ding mga transactions na silent. When we say silent, hindi niya sinabi kung cash siya or on account. So kapag silent ang problem, it simply means na cash yung cash payment ang ginamit. Let's say for example, sinabi lang niya dito, rendered service to X company for 15,000, ganun lang. So meaning, cash, automatic cash yon. Kung hindi niya sinabi yung receive cash payment, kuwari wala yung receive cash payment, sabi lang is rendered service to X company for 15,000. So automatically, cash ang i-debit natin. So now, sabi niya dito, February for transaction. So sabi ko nga, we need to understand each and every transaction. Dito naman daw, nagbayad daw tayo ng rent for the month amounting to 3,500. So binayaran daw natin yung rent natin for the amount of 3,500. Ano kaya ang i-debit natin? So dito nagbayad tayo ha. So meaning may lumabas na pera dito. Binayaran kasi natin. So kung na-record natin guys, yung date na lang, hindi na kailangan yung month. Kasi since all of the transactions are on February's transaction naman. So paid rental for the month amounting to 3,500. So nagbayad daw tayo ng renta natin for the amount of 3,500. Kung makikita nyo, hindi nyo sinabi kung cash or account. So automatically, cash ang pinabayad natin dito. So ano kaya ang debit natin? Sinabi na yung debit natin dito, paid rental. Ano kaya? Rent expense. Very good, Isabella. So, debit natin yung rent expense. 3,500. At ano kaya ang credit natin? Sinabi ko na. Cash. Very good. Kasi nagbayad tayo eh. So meaning may lumabas na pera sa atin. So titingnan niyo yung mga transactions kung pumapasok ba yung pera or lumalabas. Let's say for example, sa first transaction natin, rendered service to X companies and received cash. So nakatanggap tayo ng cash. Siyempre automatic, i-debit natin si cash kasi natanggap natin siya eh. Pumasok yung cash. Dito naman, paid rent. Tayo daw yung nagbayad. So lalabas si cash. So i-credit natin si cash. So, explanation natin dito is paid rental. Now, February 5 transaction. Sabi niya, collected accounts receivable from Y company amounting to 30,000. So the amount was included in the beginning balance as of February 1, 2016, stated above. So, yeah. So pampalito lang itong the amount was included. So dito tayo mag-focus. Collected accounts receivable from Y company amounting to 30,000. So ang ibig sabihin nito is yung isang client natin is nagbayad daw siya sa atin ng 30,000. Kumbaga nagbawas daw siya ng utang sa atin ng 30,000. Ano kaya ang i-debit natin? So nagbayad siya ng utang. So ano ma-receive natin? Cash. Very good. So since nagbayad siya ng utang, i-debit natin yung cash. Ano ang i-credit natin? Nabawasan yung mga pautang natin. Ano ang i-credit natin? Nabawasan yung mga pautang natin. Ano kaya yung i-credit natin? Siyempre dati siyang may utang sa atin eh. Ngayon, nagbawas daw siya ng utang. So meaning naka-receive tayo ng cash from that company for the amount of 30,000. And ano kaya ang ating i-credit? Sinabi niya sa mismong account, sa transaction. Yes, it's accounts receivable, guys. Kapag nababawasan yung mga utang ng ating mga customers, guys, that's accounts receivable. Pag dinadagdagan naman, kapag nagbabayad ng utang yung mga customers natin, guys, lagi siyang credit accounts receivable kapag nagbayad sila ng utang sa atin, no? Pero kapag nagdagdag naman sila ng utang sa atin, it's accounts receivable, debit siya. Okay? So, titingnan natin yung mga transactions ha. Kapag si customer, let's say for example, nagpa-render siya ng service sa atin, hindi siya kaagad nagbayad, siyempre, madadagdag yung utang ni customer sa atin. Ang ide-debit natin ng accounts receivable. Pero kapag si customer naman is nagbayad na siya ng utang niya sa atin, siyempre, i-credit natin si accounts receivable para mabawas yung utang niya sa atin. Para nababawasan yung accounts receivable balances natin. So, ang ating explanation is collected accounts. Okay, very good. Right. So, February 10. Sinong gusto mag-try? This is just the same as the February 2 transaction such that ang ginamit niya dito is to be collected on March. So, meaning, hindi daw siya kaagad nagbayad sa atin. So, rendered service to Jose on account for 18,000 to be collected on March. So, meaning, nag-render na tayo ng service pero babayaran pa daw niya tayo by March. Ano kaya ang i-debit at i-credit natin? Si Dakutan, Jerry, you want to try? You can unmute.
Sige po. Account receivable po.
I-debit or credit?
Debit po.
Okay. And then, how about our credit? Service ang re-render natin dito. So, ano kaya ang i-credit natin? Nag-render daw tayo ng service. So, this is the same as the first transaction natin. It's such that, dito sa part na to, on account lang siya. Parang hindi lang agad natin nakolekta. Ano kaya ang i-credit natin? Take a look on the February 2 transaction. Ano yung credit natin?
Cash.
Cash ba?
Cash po, sir. Opo.
Who wants to try? Other answer? Ano kaya ang i-credit natin dito? Cash ba? Hindi nga tayo naka-receive ng cash, guys. Look at the transaction. Rendered service to Jose on account. So wala tayong na-receive na cash dito, guys. To be collected on March 2016. Tama naman ang debit ni Jerry. Very good for that. Accounts receivable kasi hindi pa natin na-receive yung service na render natin. Ano kaya ang i-credit natin? Alright. So yes, very good. It's service revenue. Kapag may nakita kayong mga render service na ganyan, guys, automatic service revenue ang i-credit natin. At ititignan nyo lang yung treatment niya if cash or accounts receivable siya. Okay? Katulad ng February 2 transaction natin. Sabi ng February 2 transaction, rendered service to X company and received cash. So nag-render tayo ng service, kaya dinebit natin si cash kasi na-receive na natin. At ang ginawa natin is, nag-render tayo ng service, kaya service revenue. Sa February 10 transaction naman, rendered service on account. So meaning, hindi pa tayo kaagad naka-receive ng payment nila. That's why we debit accounts receivable and we credit service revenue. Parang nag-provide na tayo ng service pero hindi pa nila binayad. So accounts receivable and then service revenue. So very good pa rin kay Jerry and very good sa mga sumagot ng service revenue for the credit side. By the way, ano nga ba yung mga use ng mga explanation sa ilalim so that we can know kung tama yung mga debit and credit natin. So kaya naglalagay tayo ng mga brief explanation sa ilalim ng bawat transaction natin. Kahit ito lang kasi tignan natin, makikita natin if tama yung debit and credit natin. So, let's move to February 15. Who wants to try the February 15 transaction? Sabi niya, paid salaries of staff for 7,000. This is the same as February 4, kaso ibang expense lang ang ginamit. So, what is our debit side? Kay Isabella. Isabella, you want to try? Caldona?
Yes po.
Okay, what is our debit?
Debit salaries expense 7,000 po.
Okay, and the credit?
Credit cash 7,000 po.
Very good. So, thank you so much. So, tama siya, guys. So, we need to debit salaries expense kasi binayad daw natin yung sahod nila through cash. So, ang binayad natin, it will be considered as expense and then i-credit natin si cash kasi cash ang pinambayad natin. Okay ba yung 15? Alright. So let's move on to the February 18 transaction natin. Sabi niya dito, paid accounts payable to marine company amounting to 5,000. So tayo naman daw yung nagbayad ng mga utang natin kay marine company, nagbayad daw tayo ng 5,000 sa kanya. So again, nagbayad tayo ng utang sa kanya. So ano kayang i-debit natin dito? Tayo ang nagbayad ng utang through cash. Debit ba yung cash natin? Binayad natin yung, nagbayad tayo eh. Bakit tayo magde-debit ng cash? So what is our debit? Wait, wala pa ng explanation to. Paid salaries. Okay, nagbayad tayo ng utang. So ano kayang debit natin dito? So binabawasan natin ang mga utang natin. Anong de-debit natin? Yes, very good. It's accounts payable. Diba? Accounts payable is liabilities natin sila. So kapag pinayad natin mga utang natin, pababawas yung mga accounts payable natin. So ano ang credit natin? Nagbayad daw tayo. Yes, it's credit cash. Very good. So for the amount of 5,000 daw. So ganito naman ang treatment sa accounts payable. Kapag nagbayad tayo ng accounts payable, guys, or kapag nagbayad tayo ng mga kautangan natin, i-debit natin si accounts payable. Pero kapag naman, dinadagdagan natin yung mga utang natin, let's say for example, may pinagawa tayo pero hindi natin agad binayad, i-credit natin si accounts payable. Okay? Let's say for example, dito sa paid rental, sabi niya, paid rental on account. Sabi niya, we will need to credit accounts payable nun. So, debit rent expense and credit accounts payable. Pero kapag sinabi natin, we paid our credit on February 4, kuwari ito, naka-accounts payable siya. So, we need to debit accounts payable kasi babayaran na natin yung utang natin, mababawas na siya, and then credit cash kasi cash yung pagbabayad natin. Paid account. Okay? So again, kapag nagbabawas tayo ng utang, debit accounts payable. Kapag ng utang tayo or dinadagdagan natin ng utang natin, credit accounts payable. Right. So who wants to try the February 20 transaction? Sabi niya, rendered service to Maria Company for 23,000. Cash, sabi niya yan. Meron siya sabi dito, cash. Yes, Jerry, do you want to try this one?
Opo, sir. Service revenue po, 23,000.
What is our debit first?
Cash po, 23,000.
Cash, very good. Kasi naka-receive daw tayo ng cash dito. So nag-render tayo ng service, may pinagawa daw si Maria Company sa atin and binayaran niya tayo kaagad ng 23,000. So ang credit natin is
Service revenue.
service revenue. Very good. Alright, so thank you. So ganoon natin siya ina-analyze guys ha. Tingnan natin kung ano ang treatment ng transaction. Let's say for example, dito service revenue, rendered service to Maria Company for 23,000. So, may pinagawa daw si Maria sa atin. Nag-render na daw tayo ng service sa kanila. And then, binayad na daw tayo kaagad ng cash for 23,000. So, dapat natin i-debit yung cash kasi na-receive natin kaagad yung cash, 23,000. And then, service revenue for 23,000 as well. So, ang debit and credit natin dapat laging balance yan na. So, rendered service. Right. So once we have completed the recording sa ating journal, once we have we are done, recording yung mga transaction natin sa journal, we need to transfer them to our ledger, which will be discussed by next week. Actually, meron na naka-prepare na ledger dito kasi ginawa ko na to last sem. But we will discuss how to transfer them to ledger by next week, okay? So this will be how we journalize transaction. Lagi tayong may debit and credit. So laging balance dapat yan. So laging merong year, date, a year, month, and date. And then yung mga transactions natin. And then meron dapat laging mga explanation yan. Alright? And before we end, so I wanted to discuss the compound journal entry. Since sa example natin, wala tayong compound entry. So let me just cite one example here. So paano nga ba si compound entry? So ganito yan. So let's say this is the example. Ariel Garden Supply Store acquired a land for 800,000 and Ariel paid 300,000 cash and issued a promissory note for the balance. So nagbayad daw, bumili daw siya ng lupa na nagkakahalaga ng 800,000 pero 300,000 pa lang daw niyang binayad niya. And then the rest will be on promissory note daw. May mali dito. Dapat siya accounts payable. This is cash. So, kung isi-single entry natin siya guys, magiging dalawa ang entry mo kapag single entry. Land, 300,000 and then cash, na binayad mo na 300,000. And then, another entry is land and then notes payable kasi nga nag-issue ka ng notes dito. Notes payable siya. Pero kung i-compound entry mo siya guys, minsan na lang siya. Magdadalawang credit ka lang. So land, 800,000 and then cash for 300,000 and then notes payable for 500,000. So kung makikita mo, kapag compound siya, dapat balance pa rin yung debit natin sa ating credit. Kinompound lang natin siya, parang pinag-isa lang natin siya para hindi na tayo gagawa ng dalawang single entry dito. So, ganun si compound journal entry. So, pwedeng may dalawang debit, pwedeng may dalawang credit, or pwedeng dalawang debit or dalawang credit. All right, so that ends our discussion. So thank you so much for attending the class, and please attend by next week so that we can discuss further how we transfer journal entries from the ledger, okay? So see you guys next week, and thank you so much for attending the class. Bye-bye.